Meanwhile, Palestinians around the world, including right here in Canada, are anxiously watching the conflict unfold from afar. One of them is Ramsey Zeid. He's the president of the Canadian Palestinians Association in Manitoba. He's joining us from Winnipeg. Ramsey, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me today.
Ramsey, let me begin by asking you, have you been in touch with folks in the territories, either in the Gaza Strip or in the West Bank? And if so, what are they telling you?
I have been in touch with them multiple times, actually. Everybody's really concerned. Everybody's really worried. They don't like what's happening at the moment. So there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of unknowns of what's going to happen later today and tomorrow.
Are they describing to you the shelling that's coming at them?
Yes. So I have actually a niece that lives out there, and she's not in Gaza, but she's close to it, and she tells me that she can hear all the bombing, she can hear the gunfire, she can hear all the missiles and the bombs, and she can actually see them flying over her house. So,
for so many of us, Ramsey, it's stuff we see on TV. It's stuff we might even see in the movies, but to imagine that you're experiencing it in real time, in real life, it's hard to fathom. So how does this make you feel, knowing that your loved ones, your family members are experiencing this?
Well, it's not easy. We're really worried for them. We don't want this to escalate so that we don't want any more casualties. We don't want anybody else getting injured. So our main concern right now is to try to de-escalate this as quickly and as fast as possible so that no one else, especially our loved ones, don't get injured and don't get involved in any of this.
Talk to me about the de-escalation hope and efforts. How does that happen? Because we've got Hamas still launching bombs, and we've got an Israeli government that says we're going to exact revenge upon those who are doing this to us.
Well, I think what needs to happen is someone needs to get involved, whether it's our Canadian government or the United States government, that needs to kind of step in the middle and stop this on both sides. Two wrongs don't make a right. This has been going on for many, many years. So a lot of people have been saying that this just happened, but no, this is kind of a response of years of having people trapped in a small area called Gaza.
You mentioned that perhaps there needs to be international intervention, right? And you specifically mentioned the U.S. and Canada. So the U.S., we know the Biden administration has come out. Joe Biden himself said, we are rock solid in terms of support with Israel, that Israel has the right to defend itself from such an attack. We've heard a similar statement come out from the Canadian Prime Minister. In fact, just a few moments ago, Justin Trudeau tweeted, Canada unequivocally condemns Hamas's terror attacks against Israeli citizens. So they talk about wanting to protect civilian life, but there's really a clear side that's being taken. And I wonder, what do you want to hear from the Canadian Prime Minister that might put your mind at ease a bit?
Well, I mean, I would love to hear them mention something when it comes to Palestinian lives being injured or taken, or Palestinian children being arrested or imprisoned. It all seems really one-sided. There's a lot of humanitarian organizations around the world, such as Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch, that have gone in to Palestine and Israel and done many, many reports and have called Israel an apartheid state. And a lot of countries, such as our country, Canada and the US, use these reports and put sanctions on countries. And for some reason, they chose to ignore these reports. They don't do anything when it comes to Israel being called an apartheid, or Israel taking the lives of young children or journalists or innocent civilians. This is not a random attack like everybody's saying. You know, Gaza is a small city that's surrounded by a wall and by barbed fences that only have one way in and one way out. And, you know, when you treat people like that, when you back them into a corner, it's just a matter of time before they get fed up and they fight back. And I think this is what's happening at this time.
There's so much there I want to pull apart, Ramsey. Let me ask you about how locked in Gaza is, and I think a lot of people forget that. There's there's the sea on one side, there's Israel mostly on the other, and there's a small, narrow space in which people who might want to flee could get into Egypt. But Egypt is not necessarily looking to welcome maybe 2 million refugees into its territory. So where do Gazans go? How do they seek shelter?
They can't. There's no way. There's no way out. You can't go in. You can't go out. There's only one way in for everything, for medical supplies, for food, for water, and that's all regularly cut off whenever Israel feels like it. Electricity is cut off. It's a really bad situation there for people living in Gaza. I don't know what to tell you about it. It's surrounded by an apartheid wall. There's a big chain link fence around there. There's a really big military presence on the only exit out. There's not much for people in Gaza to do. And when the first thing they did was bulldoze the fence and bulldoze the wall that had the exit there. I mean, what does that tell you? People want to leave. People want freedom. People want to be treated fairly and equally.
Let me ask you about something you said, a couple of things. You said that you can only be pushed so far, that the people of Gaza can only be pushed so far before there is some sort of blowback, right? But you also said that two wrongs don't make a right. So then it becomes this issue of Hamas, if we are to take their argument that this is a retaliatory action on their part, based on what they say the Israelis have been doing to Gazans for years and years and years, could there not have been a better way of getting that message across rather than shelling into Israel and taking hostages?
I mean, in hindsight, there's always a better way. There is always a better way of dealing with situations. In every situation, there's, you can say that Israel arresting thousands of children underneath the age of 13 years old is not a good way to have children brought up. When you arrest a 13-year-old child and you imprison them, they grow up hating the Israeli government. When you bulldoze homes, the people living in that home and their neighbors grow up hating the Israeli government. When you cut off food and medical supplies that go into a city, people end up hating the Israeli government. So, I mean, there is a number of different solutions that could have been done, but it seems that in 75 years, they've tried multiple different solutions with no answer, and unfortunately, this is what's come now.
Ramsey, let me ask you one other thing before we let you go, and thank you for giving us all this time. There are protests happening around the world, including here in Canada, of the Palestinian diaspora and those who are sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. What happens in those protests is often a small but loud pro-Hamas contingency. And so that makes it very difficult to differentiate what the people are protesting for or against. I wonder, from your point of view, does that create problems? Should there be a pro-Hamas element in some of the demonstrations that take place?
I think I need to correct you there. It's a pro-Palestinian element. Hamas is a group of people that are Palestinian. So the majority of people that have been fighting in the last couple of days, some are part of the Hamas group, some are not. A lot are not there, but everyone there is Palestinian, and everybody there is fighting for a free Palestine, for Palestinians to get their freedom, to be treated with dignity, to be treated civil, just like everybody else in the world. So the demonstrations are not pro-Hamas, they're pro-Palestine, pro-free Palestine.
Okay. Ramsey Zeid, very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.